Welcome back to Market Headlines. First quarter of 2020 left unpleasant results for smartphone sales in Indonesia. According to IDC research, smartphone shipping to Indonesia declined 24.1% quarterly.
In the first quarter of 2020, the volume of smartphone shipment in Indonesia only reached 7.5 million units in this period. This went down quite significantly since in the third quarter of 2019, smartphone shipments in Indonesia were recorded at 8.8 million units. In other words, it went down 24.1% quarterly. According to IDC, the number is the lowest record from the past 2 years. COVID-19 pandemic is the reason behind such downturn. It is predicted that until the third quarter of 2020, the sales of smartphones in Indonesia still contracted. However, some smartphone vendors are quite helped by local production facilities, thus the supply is still quite safe in the first 2 months of 2020. From all sources for IDX Channel.
We used to think that people in advanced economies are more likely to have smartphones rather than emerging economy, but not anymore. So many smartphones exist with a truly affordable prices. And there is even a nickname for a smartphone that is really cheap. People call it as ultra low-end smartphone. The nickname is quite straight to the point since those smartphones only worth under 100 US dollar. And if we convert it to rupiah, it costs only around 1.5 million rupiah. With this super cheap price, it will attract more buyers in Indonesia. Let's assess it through the next graphic. Here it is. Through the next graphic, we can see Indonesians' appetite on the nickname of ultra low-end smartphone, and I would like to elaborate once again. Ultra low-end means smartphone with the price under 100 US dollar. So it means if we convert it into rupiah, it would be around 1.4 million rupiah only. In 2015, let's say Indonesians' appetite on ultra low-end smartphone is in the 52.5% of the whole consumptions of smartphones. But however, the data showed that in 2018, the number went down to be 24.5% only of the whole smartphone consumption. Even in 2016, survey showed that the largest smartphone market segment in Indonesia still exists in ultra low-end category. But then in 2018, it was only 24.5%. And by the latest data, in the third quarter of 2019, it was only 19%. And according to Associate Market Analyst for Client Devices at IDC New Zealand, not only in Indonesia, this happens worldwide. Consumers are willing to invest in a greater amount in their devices because they are becoming increasingly reliant upon them in their daily lives. See something good? Post it on Instagram. Have a good move, post it on TikTok. Have a thought, post it to Twitter. And this functionality needs technology that needs ultra low-end smartphone cannot provide. So, as the ultra low-end smartphones have decreased in demand, Indonesia's tech to beat low-end smartphones for the substitutions. And let's see the clearer view in the next graphic. So here it is. We can see the proportions of Indonesians' appetite on smartphone. So here it is, smartphone market in Indonesia. We can divide it into 4 proportions. First of all, ultra low end. That is quite 24.5%, which is under 100 US dollar only. And then moving on to low end smartphone that costs around 100 US dollar to 200 US dollar. And it occupied 41% of the consumptions. And then for the mid-range smartphones, which is costed for 200,000 and 200 US dollar to 400 US dollar, it is in the range of 29.9%. And the premium smartphone, which is above 400 US dollar, it is in the size of 5%. That was current statement from Indonesia IDC market analyst that assessed that the increasing consumption growth in the mid-range smartphones is about to beat the low-end market in the country. It happened because the Chinese smartphone providers, these providers offer mid-range products but with a high quality than the low-end smartphones. And this market shift is also driven by changing of consumption patterns. Whereas people tend to need smartphones with higher specifications to support their lifestyles, such as mobile gaming and high multimedia consumptions. And there are several brands that are in the heart of Indonesians consumers. And what are those? Let's see through the next graphic. Here it is. We just compiled. The first rank goes to Vivo, and then the second rank goes to Oppo, and the third rank belongs to Samsung, which is previously Samsung has always been the first place. However, there are Xiaomi with the fourth rank. One interesting thing is that this is the first time that Vivo has dominated the smartphone market in Indonesia. Vivo's smartphone market share in Indonesia has now reached 27.4%. And this figure has increased compared to the same period in 2019, which only 15%. Spokespersons of Vivo stated that the key is a series of promotions and marketing for low-end and mid-range smartphones. And yes, Vivo gained profit, but how about other brands? Unfortunately, most of a smartphone company experienced sales a decrease since COVID-19 pandemic. Even Indonesia's smartphone demand in the first quarter of 2020 went down heavily. Let's check it through the next data. Here it is. We can see the slow demand of a smartphone in the first quarter of 2020 that happened in Indonesia. The total shipments, it's only 7.5 million units, and this number means it went down 7.3% as if in a year-on-year basis. And if we talk about quarter over quarter, it went down 24.1%. But the sad thing is, Indonesia's smartphone market will continue to experience turbulence caused by various economic factors until the third quarter of 2020, at least before the market starts seeing a sign of stability again. But not only Indonesia, but global market also suffers. Consumers affected by a surge of unemployment rates and lower income are likely to delay unnecessary spending, which will lead into longer smartphone replacement cycle. And the next graphic, we will see the conditions of smartphone global demand in the first quarter. So here it is. We talk globally after we talk about Indonesians. Here it is, lower smartphone global demand. We can see these are like Samsung, went down 22% in the first quarter of 2020. And moving on to Huawei, from Chinese company, which went down 27% in the first quarter of 2020. That is assigned with the COVID-19 pandemic. And Apple Incorporated, that went down 13.7%. Xiaomi, that went down 9.3%, and also Oppo, that contracted heavily in the first quarter of 2020 by 19.1%. As a whole, first quarter of 2020 smartphone demand declined by 12% year-on-year, led by 20% drop in China. Fitch Rating even stated that the global smartphone shipments in the second quarter of 2020 are likely to suffer a steeper decline on a year-on-year basis than the second quarter, as many retail shops were closed and the consumers stayed at home. However, Fitch expects that in the first half of 2020, smartphone shipments will recover as economic activities restart gradually and consumers return to the market. And we expect smartphone sales to bounce back again only in 2021 and supported by demand recovery and higher sales. Stay tuned to market headlines because we will be right back with more news coverage.